My talk is about tweaking your work schedule in little ways that are going to make you a lot happier. So when you add it all up, our waking hours, so many of them are spent at work. So we really owe it to ourselves to make it as good as possible. Thanks, Steve. So this is super obvious. Health is more important than your work. But even I forget to do it sometimes. If we learn to slow down at times and make ourselves a bit happier, we can be more productive down the line. So we're better at what we're doing. So for us in the web industry right now, times are changing. Well, times have changed. We've got so much more flexibility. How we work is changing. Where we work is up for grabs. What we wear to work is completely out the window. And so use some of that flexibility to try and schedule your day in a way that's going to make you happier. I did that a while ago. I put myself out there, tried to fill a lunch calendar in November, went to lunch with someone every single day. I cheated a little bit, a lot of meetings that I was going to have anyway. Took them out of the meeting room and had a lunch. So basically it was nothing fancy. We're not going to pubs every day or going for expensive lunches. Most of the best lunches happened over at a cafe. You can get a sandwich the size of your head like that. And then if it's a sunny day, you go to the park and you enjoy it. And you get to know the person that you're meeting anyway. And you got to eat lunch anyway. So why not put a meeting in there? So in doing this experiment, that's my usual lunchtime. That's, I'm productive at the start of the day, nothing intelligent happens, and then the end of the day happens. So by putting a meeting in the middle of the day, it made me a whole lot more effective at work. So I sort of stumbled across the fact that there's something about lunching. The fact of just breaking bread and sharing a meal with someone can fundamentally change the dynamic of the meeting for the better. I had deeper conversations. I had better meetings. I had to go to lunch anyway, so it didn't really take that much longer. And I ended up with a more enjoyable work life. When you make your work life a bit more like life, it's a whole lot more better. More better. You can tell I'm nervous. It was a great success for me. So I now pretty much do that all the time. I'll start off scheduling meetings in the middle of the day and work more out there from there so I can be really productive at the start of the day, have meetings, and be productive at the end. And that's what works for me. Certainly not an original idea. This guy wrote a book just to prove that he came up with it before me. And so feel free to borrow it for yourself. It's a little weird in Sydney. I haven't found too many people that do it as well, but it's very common in San Fran. I went there and visited a bunch of friends and found that they get lunch catered because they're tech companies and that's what they do. And that's typically when they meet up with other people that they need to meet and they schedule meetings there so they can have 2 big blocks of time to get real work done. So find your own groove though. The idea of going to lunch with someone every day could be your idea of hell. You might just want to get out and be on your own and that's cool. Go for a long walk. Or if you've got another meeting, go to a beer garden or just go to a cafe. Steve Jobs, he really, really liked long walks. You think huge business deals would happen in a boardroom, but a lot of them were done just walking in the woods, we learned. Mark Zuckerberg, he made some of his biggest hires for Facebook by taking people on what was usually a surprise walk in the woods. He'd take them past Stanford University, through the woods for a bit, and he'd get them to a lookout. It was really quite romantic at the end. He'd get there and he'd pitch them, and he'd say, look, there's Kodak. Oh, so not Kodak, Hewlett-Packard, there's Apple, there's a bunch of other tech companies, and Facebook are going to be bigger than all of them. And if you join us now, you can be part of it. And I don't know, I would have worked for him. But when you think about it, I think they're onto something. Body language matters. The default setting for most meetings is in a meeting room. It's under halogen lights. The 2 people are sitting opposite each other in what's pretty much an adversarial position. You compare that to a long walk, and there are 2 people, they're walking alongside each other. They're going in the same direction, and they're both looking ahead. I think changing the body language could change the feeling of a meeting, and it could ultimately change the outcome. So have a think about the way that you're conducting your day. Try out a few different things. If you need to meet up with your boss, take them for a walk. He might be a bit gentler to you. But you've got that flexibility now. We're not as tied to our desk as we were a generation ago, especially in the web industry. So I'll end with this. If you always do the same things the same way, you can read it. Experiment, see what happens, make your work life more like life, and I think you'll be happier.
Please give it up for Steve Gilles.